And welcome back to the Hockey Hub. As promised, another great guest joining us. Thanks for making time. Greg Brown, BC head coach for the men's hockey team. Thanks for joining us. We'd love your thoughts on the Stanley Cup final. We're kind of gushing about it and the win yesterday. Brad Marchand from the Bruins side hoisting the cup. But what was your whole take of this whole final and obviously this dominant win in Game 6?
Yeah, Florida's incredible. To have that many great hockey players and buy 100% into the team game like they did. They were relentless. They didn't give any room. And it really didn't matter who was out there against McDavid and Draisaitl. They all did a great job. So it was really impressive.
Now the page turns to the draft, which is just over a week away. And obviously, you've had some great players in your program drafted, and another great one is projected to maybe even go in the top 5, and James Hagens. What kind of player is James Hagens, just for those who may be uneducated?
All right. James is a very cerebral player and a great skill set. I think he has a natural ability to transport pucks through the neutral zone. He knows how to get the defender on their wrong foot, and he's able to just glide by guys or skate by guys because he's able to create a mismatch where he gets the defender off balance. You don't see that a lot from young players, but he's able to, within 5 or 10 feet of the guy, set up whatever he wants to do. So he creates a lot of space for himself. His head is always up to see the next option, and he's a great talent.
As a coach, sorry, I just want to go back to your answer with the Florida Panthers. You said one of the first things you said is amazing to watch them buy into the team game, and that's such a coach's answer because that's such a job you guys have to do, right? Is to be able to do that. Obviously, players at that level, professionals, have learned to do that throughout the years and should have that skill set as well. But when you're coaching college kids who kind of need that guidance and the coaching is maybe more relevant and more important, how do you get guys to do that, and how are you doing that with your current team right now?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Everyone wants to create their own plays and make offense and get points. It's something you work on the entire season where they start to learn, or they learn as the whole season progresses, how they're able to create offense and keep their percentages high. So they're not, if you go out there and try every play, your percentages are going to be too low to play winning hockey. So that's one of the big things we focus on, and hopefully by the end of the year we're have a good understanding of what we can get away with, what we can be successful with, and what we shouldn't try.
Bruins development camp just around the corner now, and a few of your players taking part in that once again. There are a few of them, so let me just start with last year's first-round pick and Dean Letourneau, playing in his freshman year at BC last year. How did he develop over the course of the year?
Yeah, he developed well. I know the numbers don't show it, and a lot of people are going to be impatient with him, but Dean showed plenty of signs that he's going to be a very good hockey player. I think in general, over all of my years, you see that it takes the taller guys a little longer to get comfortable with their bodies, get comfortable with the pace. I think of two guys, Kevin Hayes and Brian Boyle, who both were 4-year college players and went on to outstanding pro careers. So usually when you're as tall as Dean, at that young age, it's not always an advantage. But as they grow up, they learn to handle their body better, learn how to protect pucks better, get stronger. Usually you see then their game flourish. And we expect the same thing from Dean.
It's such a double-edged sword these days with all the access we have to information on players for the players. In a way, maybe some of them are thinking there's so much more access and the travel's easier and they could get discovered. But once they are, like you said, people were a little impatient with them. Then you're reading things and hearing things like things are taking too long or there's criticism and that's filtering online. How do you protect players from that? Do you have conversations, and is that something they have to be aware to just block out the noise and focus on, like Adam said, development camp coming up, and there's still such a runway to get to your game?
Yes, he has such a runway, and yes, we do tell him to avoid. There's so much access, and it's hard for the kids to stay off social media, but we tell them to do the best they can, to worry about their own path and their own development, and not buy into whoever's spouting off on them online. So we hope they listen, but we've had, it's just hard for some kids. It's a part of their lives, and they have to, like all pro athletes, they have to learn how to manage that well. It's a big part of just the pro or all athletic world right now. And if they can't let that affect who they are in their own process.
A couple of other players, Coach Andre Gasso and Oscar Jelvik. Gasso taking part in the development camp. Jelvik, I believe, is still recovering from some off-season surgery. But in terms of the growth of their game, I know with Gasso, when we had talked a couple of years ago during his freshman year, when we were talking about all the Bruins draft picks, and Trevor Kuntauer was a part of that group, Jelvik and Gasso. You were talking about Gasso, having the right body, for the NHL and being a power forward type. How has he been able to grow into his body?
Yeah, he's put a lot of work in. He's a very hard worker in the weight room as well as on the ice. So he has that pro frame, which can be really important to help guys when they make the transition from college to pro. He's very strong. He's improved his speed, and he'll definitely have the size and strength to handle the pro game.
Have you, we just had Andrew Raycroft on, and he didn't have development camp when he was younger and trying to make it into the NHL. And, he was kind of joking about how it splits up the summer. And as an 18-year-old kid, you don't really want that. But I do think these guys, I hope he was joking, I do think these guys get a lot from it. I know with the Bruins organization, Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, they've come in their summers and given the guys speeches and taught them about professionalism and preparing and, what it takes to be an NHLer. I think personally it would be very beneficial just to have a taste of that and see what it's like. Have you noticed any differences in your players coming out who've never done a development camp and then who have?
Yeah, we love when our guys go, even our kids that aren't drafted, they get invited to camps. And it's great to hear other voices and what it takes to be successful, whether it's in college or hopefully making the transition to pro. I think the more voices, the more examples of the effort and the hard work and the dedication that it takes. It's always good for our guys to hear that. And they do come back with a renewed sense of purpose. And when they go on the ice or whether in the weight room, they just have that extra focus since they've heard from the pros what it takes.
Coach, I want to talk about your off season and getting ready for next season. Obviously, a lot of talent on the roster this past season. Some of those players will no longer be there in the fall, as is the case every year where you always lose players, but you gain players as well. Where are you at in terms of the offseason and getting ready for next season?
Yeah, we're not quite complete yet. We're still working on a few guys, which this is kind of rare that you're doing this late, but with all the rule changes, with major junior kids becoming eligible, with NIL, with the transfer portal, I think every team will be more accustomed to to completing their rosters later in the year than they are used to. So right now we're still trying to get the final spots on our team. And then, the guys are full-fledged on their weight program right now, doing that. Other than that, I guess it's been much busier than usual because of the recruiting side that's happening this late. But other than that, it's pretty standard.
Yeah, you mentioned the new eligibility rules, specifically with the Canadian hockey leagues. They can now play in the NCAA. How will that impact, the college landscape?
Yeah, I think the depth and the skill level will go up. You've got a whole, a couple thousand players that are now eligible. Or it's 700 to 1,000 players that are now eligible that never were for college hockey. So we hope it becomes a successful path for top players. It's a great middle ground where a lot of kids that have played 2-3 years of junior hockey and maybe not to go back for that third or fourth year and to play against the little older guys, but they're not quite ready for the NHL. So I think, and as well as getting an education never hurts anyone. So I think it'll become, fairly commonplace. This year will be a bit of a testing ground, but if guys have success and it goes well, then I think it'll become fairly commonplace that'll be part of their path to go from junior hockey to college and then on to pro.
With this, like you said, this 1,000-something new additions or possible new additions to choose from and competition, can you just take us through right now in the heat of the summer? The final is over. Hockey's done in the NHL. What is your summer? What's your day-to-day look like as you prepare for next season?
We check in on our guys. So we have a good chunk of our team here working out every day. So we check in on them. I'll be out for the draft next week to support James, and hopefully a few other guys will get drafted as well. And then other than that, we do a lot of video, watch, go over the NHL playoffs, look for clips we can show our guys as far as skill stuff, but also team trends and what's working at that level that we can use when we come back in the fall.
I'm curious, you mentioned the draft, which is coming up, and you've had so many players over the course of your time at Boston College, obviously have been drafted during your time as an assistant and now as a head coach. And, most recently you can look to Gabe Perreault and Ryan Leonard ended up going pro, Will Smith a couple of years back. Do you keep in touch with those players regularly? Do you sort of, just if you see a highlight, do you reach out? Do you maybe even coach a little bit still when you communicate to these guys? How is your relationship with some of those players?
Yeah, I definitely reach out, especially if things are going well for them, just to say congratulations, keep going. Or if things are struggling, if they sit out a couple of games, you say, you have to keep your belief and stay positive and be ready when the next opportunity comes. But no, nothing with the coaching side. They'll get plenty of that from their coaches. But definitely stay in touch and try and be positive no matter what situation they're going through. It's a big jump from college to pro, so it's never going to be all smooth sailing. So you hope you can help them if it's down and be ready to congratulate them when things are going well.
What does it mean to you when your players get drafted?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a great testament to all the hard work they've put in. That the NHL sees them as viable candidates to play in that league. It's an honor, and but we also tell them that now the real work begins. So the pro team saw potential in them, and now you've got to do everything you can to be ready for that when the opportunity comes.
You mentioned Brian. Oh, I'm sorry.
So go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say, you mentioned Brian Boyle. I saw him on the ice last night doing interviews. What do you think of his broadcast career?
It's impressive. He's always been well-spoken. He gave great interviews when he was here, so it's not shocking that he's moved in very seamlessly. And every time I see him, he's been impressive in front of the camera.
And he was nonpartisan too during our Hockey East coverage, despite his BC roots. So he did a pretty good job maintaining that as well as objectivity. So kudos in that regard as well, Coach.
Yes, he did.
Greg, thank you so much for joining us on the show, taking the time. Good luck with going to the draft, and it's nice to hear you supporting your players. Good luck building this roster and for the upcoming season. I'm sure we'll talk to you again.